It's the Happy Families Podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
Hello and welcome to the Happy Families Podcast. I'm Dr. Justin Coulson. This is the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. And today it's all about answers to your questions. Every Tuesday on the pod, I answer your questions about making your family happier. If you would like to submit a question, and I love it when you do, submit your questions via happyfamilies.com.au. Just go to the website, click on the podcasts link and push the record button. Leave your message there. It is that simple. Our first message comes through from an anonymous listener who says, I'm having some trouble with screens, except I'm the one having difficulty. I find I'm often getting stuck on them, and especially my 3-year-old ends up watching silly amounts of TV. How can I ditch screens for myself? Any tips or tricks would be great. So first off, really great that you've got the self-awareness to be mindful of the fact that you are using your screen too much. Wouldn't it be great if you had the regulation to match the awareness so that you could pull it back? And I love the fact that you've recognized the more that you're on your screen, the more that your kids are on theirs. Anonymous, thank you so much for the question. Let's have a look at some statistics before I step into some solutions. So digital is on the up. From the We Are Social 2023 digital report, total population of Australia, 26.3 million. 32.7 of them are connected to cellular mobile connections. Let me say that again. We have a population of 26.3 million, but we have 32.7 million mobile phones connected to the internet. In other words, 124.3% of the population are connected. Some people have more than one mobile phone. In other words, 25.3 of the 26.3 million are recognized as internet users based on adoption and use of connected devices and services, and 21.3 million are actively using social media right now. And in terms of time on the most popular platforms, data that's about a year old now, Facebook, 17 hours and 48 minutes per user per month. TikTok, 29 hours, 36 minutes per month. Again, this is all people 16 to 64. We've got Instagram, 8 hours, 36 a month. WhatsApp, 5 hours, 36 a month. YouTube, 17 hours per month as well. In other words, we are social. We are online a lot, and it can't not, I know it's a double negative, but it can't not affect our relationships. Every time we click, every time we like, every time we swipe, every time we comment, every time we share, we feed the algorithm and we tell the algorithm what to do to keep us there longer. This is such a big challenge. It's massive for our kids, but it's huge for us as parents as well. So let me go through a handful of ideas that some I like, some I don't like, but these are ideas that I've used historically to reduce my phone usage because I am kind of addicted to it. And these things have helped me. Number one, something as simple as sticking a hair tidy around the phone. When you do that and you put it right in the middle, it means that it's really easy to answer phone calls and sort of swipe to the left or the right at the bottom of the screen to pick up that call. But you can't really use the phone for a whole lot more. Put a couple of hair tidies around it and promise yourself that you're not going to move them. It just makes swiping on the phone annoying. It's tedious. And it's a really quick fix. I don't think that it's the most helpful thing. It's pretty easy to get around, but you're increasing the friction and making it a bit harder to use the phone. Another one that's really common that I've also found to be not particularly helpful, but everyone raves about it, is going grayscale. So making the telephone black and white, it's just not nice to use. Of course, then you don't like using it. And the whole idea is I want to use the thing, but obviously that's the issue. It's just that it's so easy to change it back. Here are some things that I have done, though, that I found to be really, really helpful. Number one, delete apps. Like, I've got a couple of apps that I have to use for social media for work, but I only use them when I'm doing work stuff. I simply post and walk away. I don't read the comments. I don't interact. I just post and walk away. So if I didn't have work, I would delete the apps completely. And deleting the apps, even if you don't want to delete them forever, do an experiment. Just delete it for a week and see how your life feels. Watch what happens. Another idea that I found to be incredibly helpful, in fact, this is probably my favorite of all the ideas that I can share with you, is to just turn off notifications. When you turn off the notifications, maybe keep your SMS notifications on, but turn off your notifications for email, for any social media, for any and all apps. Just turn every notification off. You don't need another bell or whistle, another ping or beep to draw you back to the phone just so that you can find out that somebody gave you kudos on Strava, or so that you can find out that a podcast has been uploaded. You just don't need the notifications. Turn them off. Watch how it changes your life. Outside of that, the other thing that I found to be really helpful, and this is probably the last one that I'll mention, is creating tech-free zones and tech-free times. So I have this thing where I don't look at my phone for the first 10, 15 minutes when I wake up, and I don't look at my phone for the last 10 or 15 minutes before I go to bed. They're my tech-free times. No phones at the dinner table, that kind of thing. But also, no phones in the bedroom. Or if I'm going to use a phone and it's after, I don't know, say 8 p.m., I have to use it standing up in the corridor. So in wintertime, that's horrible. I don't want to stand up in the corridor on my phone. It's cold. I'd rather be in bed. And so having little rules like that, it requires a bit of self-regulation. It requires a bit of discipline, but it can really make a big difference. Anonymous, I hope that's helpful. Get off the device. Life is to be lived. You're not just here to be entertained and have the tech platforms tell you how to live your life. There's so much more to life. Life is so rich when you can put the screen down. Thank you so much for the question. Question number 2.
Hey, Justin and Kylie. My 6-year-old neurodiverse son tends to find enough intelligence in his meltdowns to go for what is going to trigger my husband and I emotionally. I feel like my reactions drive the behaviour, but I'm not sure how to stop.
This is a tough question, and I really appreciate it. The issue of neurodiversity with a 6-year-old, knowing what they're doing, that is, there's a little bit of malice here. There's a bit of a, I reckon I can get one over my parents. Maybe there's some truth to that, but whether you have a neurodivergent child or not is not particularly relevant. Kids just push our buttons, regardless of whether they're ADHD or autistic or whether they're just kids being kids. One thing that we know is that they don't wake up in the morning feeling like this is their opportunity to destroy our lives. What happens instead is they get caught up in the moment and their big emotions start to drive behavior that is not healthy for them. It's not adaptive for us. It doesn't make the family feel better. So a couple of quick ideas here to be helpful. Number 1, you're in charge of your buttons. Often I'll hear parents say, my kids don't respect my boundaries. And my response to that is perhaps a bit of tough love. It's a bit of that sort of build a bridge and get over it sort of stuff. But let me say it anyway. If your children are not respecting your boundaries, it's because you're not respecting your boundaries. You can't expect your kids to respect your boundaries if you don't. And if you respect your boundaries, they don't have any choice but to respect your boundaries because you're respecting your boundaries. So you are the one who is in charge of boundaries. You're the one who's in charge of buttons. If there are buttons, they're yours. You look after them. You protect them. You make sure that kids know when they've gone too far. This can sometimes be a source of contention and frustration. So I want to emphasize, by acknowledging this, it's not meaning that you're going to turn into a big, mean, nasty, growling parent because the kids have gone too close to your boundaries or buttons, but rather it's that you hold that boundary really clearly. If a child pushes past the boundary, you make it really clear. You've just gone too far, or that's a boundary that you are not to cross, or my limit is here and you've pushed to this point. Or you just say, I won't be spoken to like that, and you walk away. Now, obviously, if you're in a shopping centre, you can't walk away on your 6-year-old as much as you probably wish that you could. But usually this stuff doesn't happen with your 6-year-old in the shopping centre. It happens in the living room. Why? Because they feel like they're safe and they can get away with it there. Protect your boundaries. Watch your buttons. You're the one who decides what they're going to be. And you can hold them fairly closely and fairly safely without injuring or hurting or scaring anyone else. Second idea. Stephen Covey highlighted this in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It may have come from somewhere else. Don't know. He's the one that I always give credit to for the idea. He explains that there's a space between stimulus and response where we get to choose the way we're going to respond to the stimulus. So the stimulus is your child having this meltdown, your child targeting you, pushing buttons, whatever it is, but you get to choose how you're going to respond. You can choose to blow up. You can choose to explode. You can choose to reprimand. You can choose to get furious. Or you can choose to get curious. You can choose to understand. You can choose to explore. You can choose to step away. You can choose to walk outside. You can choose to get some air. You can choose to breathe and close your eyes. You can choose your response. And you have the wonderful gift of imagination. You have the wonderful gift of conscience. And you have the wonderful gift of free will to be able to choose those things for yourself. So I would really strongly encourage you to just remember that whole stimulus response formula. In between the stimulus and the response is a space to choose how you're going to act. Choose wisely. Third idea, get enough sleep. Honestly, it's the number one thing you can do to be a better parent is to get enough sleep. You can take on the world when you have enough sleep. When you're sleep deprived, anything is going to push your buttons. Idea number 4, Work on getting your heart right. Sometimes we look at our kids and we've just decided we've prejudged them, right? We become prejudiced towards our children. You're my ADHD nightmare. You're my this one or that one. Like, I hear parents say this stuff every now and again. I've even said horrible things to my kids. Why? Because my heart wasn't right towards them. See the struggle. Look at the broader context. Remember that they're just little. They've got their L plates on. And in the case of a kid who's neurodivergent, it's making life even more challenging. So neurodiversity complicates things. Get your heart right. Number 5, I can't recommend this enough. Get outside. When things are blowing up, get outside, get into the yard, go for a walk in the street. There's something about being in nature that changes things. Reduce the pressure. Have a mantra. My mantra has always been, I'm calm and kind. I'm calm and kind. I know plenty of other people with much more creative ones, but that one's worked for me. Another idea, picture an audience. Imagine somebody's watching you. We're always better behaved when we've got an audience. Ultimately, this is on you. This is about parenting competence and parenting relationships and not feeling too trapped. So if we can feel confident in what we're doing by using those skills, we can build better relationships. And over time, things will even out. Things will feel better. Good luck. I know it's hard. Thanks so much for your questions today. Next Tuesday, 2 more of your questions. Send us a voice note via happyfamilies.com.au. Just click on the podcast link at happyfamilies.com.au. Push the record button, leave a voice note. It's that simple. Submit your questions, happyfamilies.com.au. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rowan from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. For more information about making your family happy, you'll find it at happyfamilies.com.au.